Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We'll just be waiting a few minutes for a few people to jump in. We will start the webinar in exactly 1 minute. So just on some administrative notes, thank you all for joining us. We are trying to make this a dynamic conversation with some of our guest speakers and Roger. If you have any questions or topics of discussion, please post that in the webinar chat. We'll be addressing them at the end of the conversation. And if we do not have time, we will be sending out our follow-up Q&A with our guest speakers as well. The webinar will be recorded, and we would ask that if any of you would kindly take the time to fill out the survey application after, which will make sure that we provide better information and our future context will be more relevant to agencies going forward. Perfect. Okay, Joy, is it recording?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I know everyone has quite a busy day, so we'll be getting right into our webinar as we have about 45 minutes. We want to make this a more interactive session. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join Process Fusion, Métis Nation, and unfortunately, Canada Helps wasn't able to make it today. Shakti had a personal matter which required him to urgently fly out of the country as of yesterday. The good news is we do have some key context and information which he has shared. Any questions you do have addressed will be answered from the group as a whole. So we do feel confident that the content will be still relevant for most of the agencies on the call. So today's topic of discussion will be financial and strategic planning and driving operational impact for 2024-2025. As many agencies on the call and even membership organizations, i.e. unions, or even other hospitality organizations are looking at closing operations and going into some of the busiest times and planning for the new year, we wanted to take this opportunity to help and provide insights back to our community on different areas and points of success to build operational and strategic planning. So the agenda for today will be a quick introduction of our guest speakers, which is Roger, Mac, and Felix. Our discussion topics will be on needs and priorities, how to approach strategic planning. We do have some case studies, examples of exact ones and best practices we've talked about. And we'll also just talk about our grants that we are providing other agencies right now, which is in line with strategic and financial planning. So quick introduction about for myself. My name is Moran. I'm the senior consultant from Process Fusion. We also have Roger Mack, who is the VP of our nonprofit division and public sector. His primary role is leading and managing many of our ministry projects and long-term services. So it's really from the ground up development, strategic and financial planning, which we have to work closely with on our partners. My role is really on how to build this into successful long-term planning and bridging operational change management across organizations. So really, Process Fusion, we are doing this as we've been fortunate enough to be working with any agencies over the last 20 years. We have a strong passion and commitment to helping drive the sector forward. We've realized that there isn't enough information and insights being shared across agencies and a strong collaborative network. So through our own direction and through other partner agencies, we wanted to use this time to give back information, insights, create a collaborative forum where agencies can talk to amongst themselves and share best practices, not necessarily from ourselves, but from other agencies. So overall, looking at Process Fusion, our organization really looks at nonprofit and social services from a holistic lens, as there are multiple components from service delivery, donation and fundraising management, and HR administration. We look at it from how people and process are streamlined through data and technology. So how much time staff are spending dealing with administrative workload and how to give back time to deal with front-end client services, dealing with complicated processes and how to automate that in areas of client intake, surveys, data analytics and reporting, and overall data and technology management, where there is so much more information that all organizations are having to manage and deal with. How can it be simplified, provide a single source of truth, as well as provide better evidence-based decision-making? Through Roger and Felix, we hope that we can provide some of those insights and how to build your strategic plan or areas and best practices that could help going forward. So with that, I'll pass the floor. We do have Felix Hakim. I will not steal Felix's thunder to address himself. So maybe with that, Felix, please.
Thank you, Moran. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here to kind of share what we've been doing at Métis Nation. My name is Felix Ikim. I am the director of IMIT for Métis Nation, British Columbia. We are a non-governmental organization, and we are catering for all the Métis citizens in British Columbia. That is a brief summary of me in general.
Thank you, Felix. I think one of the biggest aspects that Felix is very humble about is Métis Nation represents, like most ages, a very large scale from multi-services, multi-engagement from ministries, and many different silos and stakeholders. Through today's conversation, it will really be how Felix and other organizations are approaching this for their digital initiatives to move forward. So with strategic planning, I will pass the floor over to Roger now.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all. So today I'll have a conversation with Felix to talk about strategic planning. Now, this is a big topic. Strategic planning it's not a light topic at all. We all have to deal with this. I want to have the conversation with Felix to focus on 3 streams to talk about how do we identify the priorities to be part of the technology investment. How do we identify them? How can we do it systematically? What are the industry trends that we can learn from? Number 2 is how we plan it. Usually there are too many needs and too little budget. How do we plan out, create an effective or meaningful roadmap for the strategic plan? Number 3, what we can learn from the things that we have done before, from the past project, past experience, and we can discuss some of the key success factors associated to strategic planning as well. So these are the 3 themes of the discussion today. Well, first, I think Felix introduced yourself already, but I would really like to hear from your perspective. Describe your organization and your experience with strategic and physical planning. Now, because Felix, from what I understand, Métis is almost like a government body. Métis, you run the social programs, you have education programs, you have culture heritage programs. You also administrate a citizenship of the Métis people. In many ways, you're like running a small town or city or small township. Now, there must be dozens of departments or ministry coming to you every day asking for projects. How do you manage and how do you prioritize them?
Thank you, Roger. So as the director of IT for an Indigenous and nonprofit organization, we place a strong emphasis on integrating technology into our strategic and fiscal planning process. Our approach generally involves aligning IT initiatives with broader organizational goals, ensuring that the technology catalyzes positive change within the community and the organization as whole. We actively engage in strategic planning discussions with multiple stakeholders, advocating for the adoption of IT solutions that enhance program effectiveness, basically, improve operational efficiency, and contribute to the overall success of our mission as an organization. Now, in terms of the fiscal planning side of things, we prioritize transparency and accountability. Now, because we're dealing with multiple people with diverse backgrounds. So it is important we collaborate closely with these different departments, ministries, stakeholders to assess technological needs, allocate the resources we have because, well, we don't have that much. So always speaking with these different bodies to figure out what's priority, because if you speak to every department or every ministry, their requirements are priority. Now, how does that align with the strategic goal? If we can push something down 3 months further down the line so that we can accommodate something else that will give us a quick win, will further aid what we're trying to achieve for a different ministry, then we'll approach it that way. Regular financial reviews and forecasting enable us to adapt to changing circumstances, fostering responsible and sustainable use of resources, again, which we don't really have. So being able to manage them judiciously is quite key to how we kind of operate.
Well, very good, very good. You know what? Hearing what you talk about, you really bring the strategic planning or technology strategic planning back to organization strategic goals. That is the starting point. You know what? When I'm observing the industry, particularly in recent days, right, when it comes to technology project or technology investment, I think AI, particularly ChatGPT, has stolen the spotlight for many industries. You know what? In Gartner's 2024 report on the top 10 technology trends, 5 trends relate to AI and 1 relate to VR. However, in the public sector like you or the nonprofit organization world, many of us has been experiencing tight budget and funding. Technology investment has to be driven by need, by the technology goals, often operational need. Now we have the tendency to fix what is broken only without looking at the long-term need. Now, on that note, I'd like to show you a slide of what we have researched on the common investment priorities from other organizations. Can you bring to the next slide as well? The next slide, yeah. Yeah. It's not moving. We spoke to a lot of organizations, a lot of customers in public sector and in nonprofit organization, and we do a lot of research. On the screen here, you're seeing on the public sector and nonprofit organization, they are putting the investment into, say, digital transformation, cybersecurity, e-government service, e-health, so on and so forth. These are the things that mean that drives value to the community. That's what they are putting the investment into. Doesn't matter what kind of technology it is. It's the need, it's the impact they're looking for. Nonprofit organizations have different types of need. They want mission alignment. They need to create fundraising and sustainability. They need to engage the community in a better way or effectively. These are the things that the nonprofit organization are looking for. The question we ask ourselves is, what are your needs? Despite the fact the industry are fascinated by AI, but what are your needs and how do you prioritize them? I think Felix talked about aligning. You talk about aligning your plan with the corporate strategic goals and engaging the stakeholders. I'd like to share a couple of slides relating to the approach as well. Or maybe I will talk. No, I will ask you, Felix. The next slide. Maybe back 1 slide. Back 2 slides. Maybe Felix, I'll ask you. For this year, what are your top? Oh, it's not on the top chart. I want to ask you, what are the priorities we have identified for this year?
Okay, so thank you again, Roger. So coming from a Métis point of view, because every organization has their different challenges, right? From our point of view, the challenges we have, major challenges we're trying to address this year will be streamlining our services, automation, improving our security standards, and creating process flows across different ministries that kind of make us work more efficiently. One of the things COVID did for us was identify the fact that you could basically work from everywhere, any part of the world, right, and still get stuff done. People are starting to get on board with the whole work from anywhere setup, and as such, which is very reliant on effective and secure technology. Now, for internal processes, we've been being an indigenous organization, we have procedures that are, I won't say set in stone, that we're trying to bring into the future, basically. So moving things, going paperless, moving processes from multiple paper approvals to automated process flows, those kind of things. So basically for us this year, the idea is to, again, capture quick wins that will help project us into the future of automating most of our services and ensuring that we're able to do more with less and be able to deliver on our mandate as being the proprietors or the ones given with the responsibility of holding Métis Nations data and basically looking after the Métis citizens in BC.
Right. Sounds like this year you focus on improving the internal processes, automate them where possible, such as turning them into from paper to paperless to digital, right? So these are all more on operational need. Sounds like that. Okay. Now on that note, you already talk about how you plan it. Do you have a systematic way to create your strategic plan? You talk
Okay.
about speaking to the stakeholders, aligning to the corporate strategies. But I think what I hear is this year will be focused more on the operational need, fixing some of the operational inefficiency. That's what I understand, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You're
again,
talking about some of the SharePoint projects. So these are the areas that can immediately help the operation teams and cross department as well, right? Okay. You know what? I'd like to suggest a systematic approach to strategic planning. Marianne, can you flip to the next slide? Now, of course, strategic planning is not a linear path. It always takes iterative input, discussions, and validation before you can finalize the plan. But I like to suggest not suggest. I'd love to conceptualize the strategic plan into a linear process for ease of comprehension. So we always start with alignment with the business or organization goals. Now, every business are different, and yet every business usually has core operations such as finance, revenue or fundraising, program management, HR administration, or client service. Every organization has that, including township or government body. Client service would be like traffic ticket, would be like a social service. So they all operate with these fundamental processes. So first of all, we need to understand them, identify the process, understand the process, and identify the different streams of operations. The next stage is to evaluate the people, process, data, and technology associated with each streams of the operations. We critically look at whether they are meeting the goals, whether what is the process efficiency expectations, is the process scalable to meet higher demand, is the process resilient to a disruption or to disaster or to unexpected event, can the process support collaboration and within and with other departments. So these are the things that we will look at, do a cross-examination between different operation streams and apply an analytical lens against them, looking at people, process, data, and technologies. And then we identify the gaps and need among these streams. Some of the example is disjointed business process, very often, or it's very common, organization grow over time, even either organically or sometimes through acquisitions. Different departments, even though doing the same thing, maybe following different process because they are under different management team or they're in different regions. So there's different disjointed business process, even within the same type of business. As a result, it's also common that we have silos of operational data, which cause inefficiency in processing the transactions or serving the client, or forget about easy roll-up reporting, right? Another thing that we want to address is excessive manual steps in transactional tasks. These days, manual steps are inevitable, but we want to minimize manual steps when those tasks are transactional, repetitive, and high volume. We want to identify them. And of course, we want to care about client feedback, customer feedback, or community impact to see whether we have a good engagement, whether we have a good feedback from them. When there's weakness, this is where we can focus on where the gaps are. And finally, after collecting all the information, after doing this fit gap analysis, we can prioritize them. And we can put in things like considering a centralized enterprise CRM, or creating a client portal or partner portal, creating an enterprise content management system, so on and so forth. These are just examples. Every organizations are different. And of course, throughout this process, even though it's expressed in a linear manner, it tends to be iterative, and it will involve the stakeholders throughout the process for discussions and validation as well. Now, next slide, please. When it comes to prioritizing the need, we have to ask ourselves, what makes sense, whether it's to fix the problem or to improve the situations or the solutions or transform. As I said, we often operate under tight budget, and we always have a tremendous amount of need out there. There's a tendency for us to just focus on fix it and don't touch it if it ain't broken, or only fix it and keep moving without looking at the long-term need of the organization. But sometimes you do have to step back and say, guys, let's take a transformative approach to the organization or to certain operations, so that by fixing the fundamental, and it can benefit the operation at all levels across the organizations. Click. We need to prioritize them based on impact, cost, and risk analysis. Impact is how much you can gain by fixing the problem or solving the problem. What is the potential solution? You have to look at the cost and the risk associated to it, such as whether it's a high impact, low cost, low risk. If that's the case, do it. Versus high impact, low cost, high risk, etc., etc. There's no one fixed formula for this. A different organization have different flavor of this. We have to look at it on a case by case basis. The note I make here is high risk is okay, not necessarily a bad thing, as long as the risk is considered manageable. There could be a effective mitigation plan against the risk, then it is okay. So these are the thinking process behind strategic planning. Now, let's see. The next question, I think that Felix answered already. What technology investment you have chosen and why? Now, previously we talked about the need. Maybe you talk about the need, Felix, around fixing operational issues, automating workflows, going into paperless operations. So these are the need. These are the investment. Maybe you can talk about do you have a longer term strategy toward your technology investment, Felix?
Yes, we do. Again, as the IT director of one of my main tasks, or one of the first things I did was draw up a strategic plan for the next 5 years. Basically taking into account where we were when I took over and what we wanted to quickly achieve, what the priorities were, factoring a lot of different things from improving processes to security to improving our infrastructure. So all these had to be, now these things are quite huge when you look at all of them put together. But being able to stretch them out over a 5-year period meant we can actually pace ourselves with how we approach these changes, especially factoring in these changes cannot happen without funds. So with the little resources we have, it's basically stretching it out as best as we can. So basically, we looked at the next 5 years. What are the technological implications of what needs to change? What kind of technology we want to invest in now? How does it affect us in the short term, medium term, and long term? Now, the technologies we plan to adopt, will they be relevant 2 years from now? If they won't, how do we address that? How do we mitigate that? Because you don't want to get involved or spend money on a technology that becomes redundant 2 years from now, which means you have to re-strategize and start thinking of how to upscale again or change. Now, again, with regards to the technology, we've tried to prioritize our investments in cloud-based technologies, ensuring that they're scalable, flexible, and easily accessible by all those that need to use them across the company. We've also invested in cybersecurity measures to safeguard sensitive data, which we will continue to kind of explore in the course of the 5-year term for the strategic plan that we have. Now, the strategic plan isn't set in stone because as technology keeps evolving, we keep going back to strategic plan to update it based on what our requirements are. Because as any organization knows, your what you consider as important requirements this year might be very different next year based on what the direction you decide to go in. So that keeps changing as we keep delving into the future. So we keep updating where we're at with regards to what our requirements are, what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to deliver to our stakeholders and our community at large at MNBC.
Yeah. So you need to your strategic plan is a multi-years plan. You take a
Yes.
holistic look at the organization need and it create a multi-years plan to achieve them. I think I heard cybersecurity is actually one of the priorities for many organizations as well, and many organizations have to deal with immediately because they are not able to obtain cybersecurity insurance without strengthening or hardening their own cybersecurity practices. You talk about a financial aspect, and in order to achieve what you need to practice a financial planning to allocate appropriate budget for the next few years in order to achieve the goal. I think these are the things, these are the strategy that you have in your strategic plan. Very good. Now, at this moment, I'd like to show you a case study that we did for a customer. Next slide. I want to show you how we identified initiatives or priorities for this particular organization. Now, this is an international eye healthcare operations. They promote and coordinate eye healthcare in poor communities in 8 countries around the world. In 2022, they screened over 1.6 million people among these 8 countries. They prescribed 270,000 eyewears to those who need them. And they also performed over 160,000 eye surgeries to this community as well. So they are pretty large operations. So we identified the need of full discussions with them, right? Now, so I'll give you a couple of highlights. They conduct over close to 1 million door-to-door surveys. They conduct them manually and report them manually. They lack a program management tool to effectively administrate the vision centers and the volunteers. They have thousands of volunteers to operate these vision centers. Now, they'll coordinate with the local hospitals or healthcare partners. These coordination are managed manually and is inconsistently across different regions or different groups, causing challenges in record keeping and report and analytics. They also have data silos among operation teams, causing measurement and analytics almost impossible. So after analyzing the need and seeing what their operation decide to be, we proposed that a few initiatives as their technology investment. I actually start from the bottom. they can do a digital survey and turn the survey into digital intake for for better data quality. They need a tool to better manage the referral and the outcome and work and coordination with the partners, with the partner hospital or healthcare organizations. The next level, at the regional level, which is managed by the regional manager or program manager, they need a tool to manage the centers and to administrate the staffs and the volunteers. Okay, that's the third initiative. The fourth initiative, they need to aggregate the data in order to, automatically from all regions, from all teams, from all centers for consistent reporting and analytics. So these are the initiatives they need to create. The thing is, when you look at it this way, we want these initiatives to work in a cohesive manner, so that the data and the operation conducted at the regional level, at the operation levels, are all aggregated automatically up to the program manager and all the way up to the corporate as well. So effectively, even though they are separate projects, they work cohesively. On contrary, very often with the particularly in the nonprofit sector, even in big hospital as well, different department, because of their urgent need, they go off and hire some consultant to build some programs to resolve some short-term need. They create some Excel programs or some a local database to administrate their need. But these databases do not talk to the rest of the organization, and they do not work with the rest of the organization, even though they provide similar services. So we want to encourage organizations to look at this local technology pocket of tools, a pocket of a standard or report, and standardize them and consolidate them into a single platform, so that the reporting can be rolled up automatically all the way up to the corporate. I highlight the measurement analytics because in our world, the ability to measure and evaluate the outcome is an important part of the operations. And without the data that can roll up automatically, the reporting is inaccurate, not to mention it is very labor intensive. So this is one example of identify the need and creating technology initiatives for these particular operations. Okay, next slide. Okay, the next question or topics we want to talk about is the roadmap. I think Felix already alluded to it, because there are when we look at the organization, once we spend time with the organization, spoken to the business teams and the executives, understanding the business goals, understanding the technology and the gaps, there is a whole list of things to do, and the budget is limited, the resources are limited, and they're overlapping priorities. I think the challenge is, how do we create a map per se, that can address the need for the organization in a realistic manner? Because these days we can all paint a rosy picture. AI can take over the operation in 2 years in a wonderful way. We can paint that picture, but how can we get there? Or should we focus on that is another question, right? So I think maybe I will share the next slide as an example. This is an example from one of our customers. They do a create a long-term transformation roadmap. I really like the way they describe it. It's actually United Way in BC. They create a 3 years roadmap and addressing every facet of their organization, of the operations. The first year they call it fixing the doing, like do the right thing and at all levels, including cybersecurity, migrating to the cloud, adopting to the cloud where possible or makes sense, supporting remote working and operational excellency. So that's the foundations. We have to fix that before we move to the next steps, right? And then the second stream is about engagement with the community, with the client. And again, these are one of the things that they have to do right now. So these are the doing. And of course, follow the diagram, you see they have streams on dealing with the data mastery capabilities, and efficiency in automation and digital skills. So this is the first year. They call it the doing. The second year is becoming. Once they get the foundation fixed, they can adopt more automations. They can, for example, the digital marketing can be automated. The CRM can centralize all the client information. They have data governance and data management. So the second year they call it the doing. The third year they call it the being. Now that the operation becomes mature, technology becomes mature, they can fully benefit from the technology platform and mature the organization and scale the organization by being excellent. So that's the roadmap they created, which is United Way in BC. Next slide. Now, and also there often we deal with complex situation that may not be easy to say, oh, let's do a CRM, or let's do this and that. May not be easy that way. We're dealing with hospital. For example, we're dealing with hospital. They need to, one of the hospital that we work with, they actually print about 3 million pages of paper in 1 month. Correct, 3 million pages of paper in 1 month. It's easy to say, oh, let's go paperless, but it's not practical. In many ways, the hospital still need to print paper, and of course there was, I don't have to tell you, tremendous cost. The carbon footprint, the waste management is just tremendous. But it's not an easy problem to solve. Then we have to step back and say, we don't have a solution yet. We don't have an answer yet. Let's step back and explore options. And what can we do? So we take on a project, a longer term project. This year, we just explore, we just investigate, just evaluate. And some other project, maybe need an experimentation phase as well. For example, when you look at AI, how to adopt generative AI in counseling or in consulting, maybe we need to do a pilot project to make use of the data you collect from previous counseling sessions or previous client portfolio to see whether you can actually make use of those information to create to leverage on the magic of machine learning or AI. So that requires some pilot. So these are the things that sometimes you need to you need to slow down and do some research project before you can pin down a particular project for complex situations. Next slide.
So Roger, quick time check. We'll have about less than 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. In that case, next slide.
Sorry.
I think I'll go through this briefly. Here is another example that we have done for a customer, which is actually the Ontario Ministry for a payment program for the developmental disability programs. We serve over 65 clients a year, administrate over 300 million funds as well. So we identified the need for this organization. I click. This program has been growing through the years. So we need a way to scale the operations and to increase engagement with the end user client. So there are many needs associated to it. There's no way to just fix one thing and things can be improved right away. So we work with the ministry and the agency to create a multi-year roadmap. Next slide. We actually spent 1 year to research and plan for a 4-year transformation roadmap. So last year, we actually used AI to do intelligent data capture on invoice to reduce data entry requirement. And this year, we're migrating CRM to the cloud. And next year, we'll be doing the client portal, so on and so forth. So this is one of the long-term strategic plan we created for the ministry programs. So this is one example I want to highlight. And of course, through all these, the financial consideration is important, and we work closely with the agency and the ministry to have a understanding on the financial requirement and to build basically collaborate on the approach and to get the consensus on get the agreement on the roadmap. Now we're going to skip this one, Marianne. maybe we'll just talk about the success factor. The key things for a successful strategic plan is we don't focus on the technology. Successful transformation starts with the organization, with the people and culture. So always get the stakeholders and the board member involved as well, because we require the board member support for a long-term project. Felix already indicated that in the strategic plan, this needs to be flexible. So we need to be strategic as well as tactful. The ability to adjust and adapt to changing situation is a necessity. I think I'll pause in this here, and I think in the interest of time, I think we can open to. I guess I'll pass it on to you, Moran.
Yeah,
so that
so
you can
I've
take the next
answered the
step.
questions. We will be sending, thank you very much, Roger and Felix. First off, we will be sending the digital form of these slides as well as recording broken out on YouTube into the certain sections after our call. To answer one of your first questions on how we transition from door-to-door surveys and going to a digital survey, there's multiple avenues. Ideally, in a best case scenario, you can go fully digital and looking at different digital tools available, SurveyMonkey, web forms, different areas. The truth is accessibility and demographics are a challenge, right? So how quickly can the methods that you have via client portal, web interfaces, how quickly can they be adopted to different channels to change survey information? We've learned that it's not possible to just have one stream. Even from our invoices and claim submission process, we have to account for email, fax, digital submissions, right? So finding the right avenue to look at the methodology for delivery and gathering information. That in itself is almost just as key as the transition to a digital survey. We'd be happy to talk to you more about it in this specific one. This is something we're actually working directly with one of our agencies right now. And I think one of the last points, unless I'm missing any questions, is as many of these points are hard, complex, and take a lot of time and resources, we aren't just trying to offer face value of trying to give back. Based on the last 4 months, we've decided to develop our time and resources and give back some of our resources in between some of our major projects. So with that, we're trying to help agencies through this roadmaps and initiatives. So looking at doing some of the initial groundwork of the analysis, creation of a roadmap. And by no means does this mean we are the experts in everything. It really will come down to the initiatives that an agency is taking. And if we can help develop and articulate a roadmap, this isn't to say we are expecting any relationship or working with an agency going forward, but we know that this can be extremely challenging for some agencies to even develop a plan, and in some cases execute on plans they've already been given, right? So we hope that with some of the key areas is we'll be able to provide this to agencies. So right now, we've completed a few assessments. We'll be completing the remaining for year end within the next 2 months. So we will be taking on new applications. This will be shared after the webinar as well. And I will put in my booking link and reach out to the individuals on the call to see if they need any additional support. To give you some example, we've completed a centralized client service management program flow for North Shore. Camino, we looked at multi-service program intake. So how they can even structure intake for the programs they support today, as well as future programs and community support services. MNBC, Felix did put a long-term plan, and this is something we would love to help him through. Our core goal is trying to break this down into manageable pieces, such as automation of forms, central records management, and client database management, right? And this involves over 50 plus unique different forms and processes. So we are going through that SWOT and gap analysis of looking at that. And the same goes for universal eyesight. Many of these programs will be a 1 to 3 year plan, which will take into account resources, program management, and existing resources and capabilities. So at the very least, an agency can move forward with this plan with the resources they have, or have a roadmap, so to provide additional funding and resources. And depending on where the workload is, maybe we would be able to take some of those on with the existing technology and processes as their additional grant services. But that is all we have for today. Sorry, I do see one more question. How can small age with limited funding carry out digital transformation with operations? So I'll pass that question over to Roger and Felix. Felix, I know you're a large, but please feel free to go ahead with your answer.
What was the question again? Okay, Roger can start.
How can smaller agencies with limited funding carry out digital transformation of operations?
I can give it a crack because we do work with small agencies and with few people. The key word is not about the budget. It's not about the funding. The key word is whether you can demonstrate the outcome with the funding, because very often you do require to apply for grant or for funding sources to support some digital projects. The question is, can we articulate the benefit of that digital project and how it benefits the community or your target audience? So these are the key things when creating the digital plan and to articulate the benefit to the community.
If you
there
have
are
any
many grants
questions, we'd be
available,
happy
we
to.
can help to align up with some of the grant.
Yeah, many of the times, some of our initiatives assessments are to help agencies provide the information necessary to go after additional funding and to provide context to their existing funders, or even for donation management. Perfect. So with that, we are out of time. I wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to join us. If you wouldn't mind, as I mentioned, please take the time to complete the survey. And regarding the grant, I will try to reach out individually to each of you to see what your thoughts are or if there are any initiatives or questions you have. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you during our next event as well.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Felix, for joining us today.
Thank you
very
Felix.
much for having me.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Roger.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.